Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Eugene, and this channel is dedicated to teaching of programming and software development. This is the second lesson of the Programming Fundamentals course. In the previous lesson, we learned what a program is, we've seen an example of a C# program, and we learned how a program runs on a computer. In this lesson, we are going to learn what an IDE is, the benefits of working in an IDE, what Visual Studio Code is. We are going to prepare the development environment by installing the required components. And finally, we are going to write and run our first C# program from within Visual Studio Code. Let's start. First, a few words about development environments, or more precisely, IDEs, which are integrated development environments. Basically, in order to write a program, a simple Notepad application would be enough, since a program is just a text file. Once the program is written, we can use the command line to compile the source code and then run it. However, an IDE can make our lives much easier. Basically, an IDE gives us all the necessary tools that we need during development in a single place. First, an IDE provides us with a very convenient code editor that has syntax highlighting, which means that different types of keywords have different colors. We have auto-completion. It can show us errors that we made, automatic indentation, and good IDEs have refactoring capabilities. We'll see these benefits when we start writing code. In addition, an IDE integrates the compiler, which means we can compile our program from within the IDE. Also, it offers debugging capabilities, so we'll be able to run our program step by step and monitor the state of the program while it's running, and find errors that happen during runtime. This is just a short list of what an IDE can do, and there are much more capabilities built in usually, but for this course, the ones I mentioned are what we need. For this course, we are going to use Visual Studio Code, and while it's not a fully featured IDE, but rather a good code editor, it has many built-in capabilities as well as extensions that can give us everything we need for development. Now, let's prepare our development environment. First, let's install the .NET SDK. For this, I'm going to the Microsoft website and downloading the latest SDK. Once downloaded, I'm going to install it. As you can see, the installation is very simple. Basically, the .NET SDK is everything we need in order to compile and run C# programs. Okay, now that the installation finished, let's make sure that it's actually installed by opening the command line and running the following command. I'm running .NET --version. And as you can see, the .NET SDK is installed and we can continue. All right. The next thing we should do is we need to install Visual Studio Code. For this, I'm going to navigate to the Visual Studio Code web page and download it from here. Again, once downloaded, I'm going to open the installer. Now, just like with the SDK, the installer is very simple. There is nothing special that we have to do here. I'm going to add a desktop icon, but except for that, I don't think there is anything special that needs to be done. All right, now that the installation finished, let's open Visual Studio Code. Okay, here I'm not going to do anything, just mark done. And the first thing that I'm going to do is to install the C# dev kit extension. For this, I'm going to extensions and I'm typing C# dev kit and just pressing install. All right. Now, when it's installed, if you see this error message like me, you can simply reopen Visual Studio Code and it should be gone. Okay, now we are ready to create our first C# program. For this, let's click on Create .NET Project on the left pane. And when it finishes discovering project templates, we will choose Console Application. Console App. Now I'm going to create a new folder here. Let's name it dev. Select folder. Let's give it a name. For example, hello world. Just press enter and again enter. Yes, I trust the authors. All right. And now we have a project that we can start working on. And I think I will zoom in so that we all see everything better. Okay, now that we have a new project, let's see what we have. First, we see that we have a program.cs file, which is the actual source code file being generated. And as you can see right now, we have a single command there. Let's replace it with something a little more interesting. However, you don't need to understand anything I'm writing here right now. You will learn it in the next couple of lessons. But for now, let's do the following. Let's ask the user for his name. Then I'm going to read his name from the console. And when he enters his name, let's print hello and the name of the user. All right, so now that we have our program written, the first thing that we need to do is build it or compile. In order to compile it, we can go to terminal here and choose run build task. Press enter, and this is going to compile our program. All right, so now that the program is compiled, we can see that a few files were generated, and if we go to bin, we can see that we have a hello world executable file. That's the actual program that we can run. We can even open it in the file explorer like that. As you can see, we have these files. This is our program. Now we can open the command line from here and run the program as any application. We can type hello world, and as you can see, the program runs. The first thing, we are being asked, what's your name? I'll type Eugene, and you see that hello Eugene is being printed. But as I said, we have an IDE to make our lives easier. So once we've written our code, we can simply press on the play button here, which will both compile the source code and run the program from within Visual Studio Code. As you can see, on the bottom, we are asked, what's your name? Again, I'm going to type my name, and we see the same output as before. So as you can see, we can write our program here and run it from Visual Studio Code. Also, as I mentioned before, you can see that different keywords are colored in different colors, which makes it easier to distinguish between them. And in the next lessons, we are going to learn the difference between those keywords and different commands. And as we said in the first lesson, many interesting things. Now that we are ready with the development environment, we will be able to use it in the next lessons. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.